Henry Mascott, it's an absolute pleasure having you join me on Channel's Business Global today. Talk to me about what are some of the most significant growth inducing factors that are propelling the emerging insurance sector across the continent and, of course, in Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. So again, within the insurance technology landscape, which is called InsurTech for short, there are a couple of factors currently driving a lot of growth, a lot of potential within the sector. The sector is one with massive opportunity, seeing that in the whole of the continent of Africa, less than 2%, or right about 2% of the population is insured, or even so typically insurance penetration is also looked at as a percentage of the GDP, and just generally across the continent, I think that number is actually at like 2.7%, and a large chunk of why that is even at 2 point something is because of South Africa. So when you take South Africa, that number is even more abysmal. And so with the growth of the fintechs and the opportunity where companies are innovating in payments, innovating in banking, it's also become a very hot opportunity to see how some of these technologies can be applied in insurance as well. And some of the ways that are really exciting for us as the founders, operators, and the investors as well as in the areas of distribution. How can you get insurance? How can you get risk protection to more people at much less cost? With the rise of mobile, with the rise of USSD and all the channels, it's become very exciting to say, hey, how can we reduce the cost? How do we need to keep going through brokers? How do we get to all these consumers without having to spend as much money? So that is really exciting. On the distribution, leveraging mobile, leveraging USSD, leveraging just channels that have access to a lot of consumers. Another very exciting opportunity is just around the distribution, space as well is embedded insurance, right? So embedded insurance, it's pretty much like the word says, is embedded and it's insurance. So it's looking at what are some of the consumer platforms that exist currently that have the trust of consumers, and saying how can we get insurance to these users within those platforms, because they already trust those platforms. And so that's one exciting reason for embedded insurance. Another one is also that it allows you to be able to offer insurance within the right user journey. So somebody's buying a smartphone from Jumia, at the point of checkout, they get an option to say, can I add device insurance to this?
Oh, that's great. So you've definitely got the technology to do it.
Yes.
I want to cut you because we're running out of time, believe it or not, Henry. But you are, Suricel, a part of this amazing tech ecosystem that is dominating the continent. So congratulations on that.
Thank
But
you.
sometimes there are some fears about what happens once you get all of these funds that Silicon Valley investors run away. There have been some notable cases where a lot of these guys have been hung up to dry, after they've had one or two issues, shall we call it? Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you scale up now? Because we know that the insurance sector has gone through some significant losses, and these losses have come because the climate is changing. There have been major natural disasters, not just in America, with extreme storms, extreme freezing temperatures. We've also had it here in the UK. In Africa, climate change disproportionately affects our people. Are you worried about investor appetite? The fact that, the insurance sector is booming, but what that means is that people need to be paid if something happens to their car or their house. Are these conversations happening, or have you not reached that stage yet?
Well, to be honest, again, you're talking about the macro, right? So yes, so
Yes.
we're not disconnected to the macro, right? We're serving real businesses, and as inflation is going high, so it affects some of those businesses. For us, obviously, I wouldn't say that we're worried, but like we've got our thumb in the pulse, being aware of what is happening. We're a technology business, so a core part of our business is building the technology and providing infrastructure. And so for us, within the landscape where things are generally where we're already thinking about, okay, cool. How do we make sure that our models are profitable? This industry, no matter what happens, like it's kind of like a circle, it goes up and down. So for our business, really it's making sure that make sure our unit economics are done properly, making sure we have the right runway and we have the right financing to sort of like weather the storms, keep serving the clients that we're serving, providing them what they need, providing them the value that makes sure that they can pay us. So I wouldn't say that we're very worried. The macro kind of like it happens like that. But for us as a business, we're in a very strong position to weather the storm and come out on the other side.
Yeah, that's good. And no pun intended there, I suppose, Henry. Just very lastly, African farmers, they represent 60% of the continent's workforce. How does Suracel's technology make sure that it's seen as a risk mitigation tool if they come into any issues? And also, how are you reaching them? Because we know that most of these farmers are rural and just don't have the access to people like you.
Yeah. So like I said, again, we're an infrastructure. We're building out the digital infrastructure for insurance across emerging markets. So this is starting out of some of the markets that we're in, and we're in about 8 African countries at the moment. So obviously, you've talked about the farmers. Agricultural insurance is one segment of insurance. And so in some of the use cases that we're currently working on, we're powering businesses that have the infrastructure enabling these businesses to work. So one of our clients, a business called Isidore, provides end-to-end tools that allow farmers manage their processes, education, content, access to financing. And so within that ecosystem, our technology enables these farmers to protect their crops. So it's very simply, we partner with a lot of partners who enable these farmers. And so our part is to make sure that when they need the insurance, we're there at the right time. When it's time to claim, that our technology powers that insurance process to make sure they get the money that they're insured for and they get the value to keep their business going.
Well, I think the work that you're doing is absolutely fundamental and it's brilliant. We're just hoping that you use, the examples and the fallout of the SVB collapse to, build up your own ecosystem. So you're not dependent necessarily on outside funds. So we can make sure that we are insured within our own borders. Henry Mascott, CEO and co-founder of Curacell. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.